To save my girlfriend, I got my leg crushed by a wardrobe in a fire. She was a career woman, yet she didn't abandon me. She took care of me until I was discharged from the hospital, openly showing our affection on Twitter, giving me a sense of security. Everyone said I was lucky, but only I knew she had already started a family with another man. They went to amusement parks together, celebrated birthdays, and were expecting a child. The man always called me that cripple or that toy boy, and she never objected. Later, I quietly moved out and started my own business. She then came to me with tears in her eyes. "Stop being upset. Can we start over?" Ding. Story Shots reminds you to click the subscribe button at the bottom right corner to read the full novel. As I entered the private room, I was greeted by a chorus of cheers. In the center, a man and a woman were drinking from intertwined glasses. The woman, dressed in a smart business suit, was blushing furiously. The man had his arm around her waist, his eyes filled with deep affection. As they finished their drinks, the room erupted in applause. They made a handsome couple, seemingly destined for each other. On any other day, I might have offered my congratulations if the woman in question wasn't my girlfriend, Olivia Gibson. My hands trembled, and it took a while before anger began to rise within me. I had just received a message from Olivia saying she was in a business meeting and asking me to bring the company's project portfolio. I had just finished my physiotherapy session and hadn't even had time for a glass of water or to put on my coat before rushing over in the cold wind. And this is what I found. The waiter opened the door to bring in more drinks, and that's when the people inside noticed me standing there, disheveled and confused. The air grew thick with tension. Only the man in the center continued to smile mockingly. Since when did they start hiring cripples as waiters? Oh well, come pour me a drink. Consider it my good deed for the day. He tossed a wad of notes onto the table with a grand gesture. The room was full of Coastal Town's elite, all of whom knew I was Olivia's official boyfriend, yet they all wore expressions of amusement, as if watching a show unfold. I looked towards Olivia, who had gone pale. She pushed down her panic and pulled me into a seat with a concerned expression. "Bill, stop joking around. This is my boyfriend." That name sent a jolt through me. Bill Foster, Olivia's first love. He was back. While tidying the storage room once, I had come across Olivia's diary with his name in it. They were childhood sweethearts from similar backgrounds, even sharing the same hobbies. Olivia had made no secret of her feelings for him. The thick diary was filled with Bill's every move, from the small details like how many times he had smiled at her, to the bigger events like how many girls had confessed to him, until the day of their A-level results, when she wrote with determination and nervousness, "I'm going to confess to him. I'm so nervous. Please, please, let this work out." The young girl's anxiety seemed so vivid, so different from the stern face she usually showed me. I felt a pang of jealousy until I turned to the next page. Her confession had failed. The diary entries stopped after that. It made sense, I supposed. After Olivia started university, she was busy with societies and student union work, as well as taking on family responsibilities. It was natural that she'd neglected the diary. At the time, I had consoled myself that everyone has someone they admire in their youth, but at least she was with me now. But the scene of them drinking together so intimately had felt like a slap in the face. Olivia thoughtfully covered my legs with her jacket. "We were just playing truth or dare. I can't believe I got this punishment." Then, she proudly scanned the guests. "Now that my boyfriend's here to back me up, you can't bully me like this anymore." Every word and action was still that of the model girlfriend who had always treated me with respect and kindness. I let out a deep breath. Was I being paranoid? Surely there was nothing wrong with old friends exchanging gifts after years apart. But when Olivia asked me why I was here, I fell silent. It wasn't her who had called me to bring the documents. I turned and met Bill Foster's smiling face. Suddenly, I realized it had all been his doing. After all, he was the only one here who could guess Olivia's phone password. Because it was his birthday. Bill Foster was still smiling. I didn't miss the challenge in his eyes, as if to say, "You may be with her, But in the end, isn't it still me she thinks about? I gripped my thigh, nearly grinding my teeth to dust, unable to extinguish the jealousy growing wildly in my heart. In the past, I had been jealous about the password issue, sourly asking Olivia to change it, only to be met with a cold face. "Joe, don't you trust me at all?" she had said. I loved her to the bone, so I immediately apologized and didn't dare to bring it up again. Now, thinking back, if Olivia hadn't left this loophole, how could he have taken advantage of me? Bill Foster raised his glass to me again with a smile. "Mr. Williams, thank you for taking care of Liv all these years. I'd like to propose a toast to you." At that moment, it felt like my throat was stuffed with cotton. The way he spoke made it sound as if he was the real boyfriend and I was just a backup. I threw the documents on the table, observing Olivia's expression. "I'm Liv's boyfriend. Taking care of her is what I should do. Here are the documents you wanted. If there's nothing else, I'll head home now." She seemed a bit confused, then glanced at Bill Foster, realizing he had contacted me on purpose to embarrass me. But she didn't get angry. She just held me back. Bill Foster was still holding up his glass. "Mr. Williams, don't rush off. Why don't you do me the honor of having a drink?" He put himself in a humble position, his tone carrying a hint of disappointment. Olivia immediately frowned with concern. "Joe, it's just one drink. Don't make things awkward." Everyone present was a person of importance, and she didn't want Bill Foster to lose face. But she knew perfectly well about my alcohol allergy. I looked incredulously at the person I should call my girlfriend. She softened her tone. "Just a little bit, it'll be fine." I ended up in A&E that night. Initially, I had only taken a small sip to be polite, but Bill Foster wouldn't let it go, forcibly making me drink 3 glasses. Even though I tried to make myself sick afterwards, I still couldn't escape this ordeal. The nurse was scolding me while setting up the 4. "Sir, this isn't your first time being hospitalized for an allergic reaction. How have you not learned your lesson yet? Is social drinking really more important than your life? Also, it's not very convenient for you to be alone. It would be better if you called someone from home to stay with you." I didn't say anything. A long time ago, when Olivia had just taken over her family's small company, I had taken drinks for her while she was trying to secure a deal. Those executives, unable to take advantage of her, went crazy forcing me to drink. That night, they nearly drank me to death. Olivia had stayed by my hospital bed all night. When I hazily opened my eyes, her pale face still had traces of undried tears. Even so, she was as stubborn as a warrior. "Joe, I promise I'll never let you be mistreated again. Just wait until I become powerful enough. I'll never let anyone force you to drink again." The nurse handed me my phone, suggesting I call my family. But how could Olivia's number possibly be reachable? She had just complained about my inability to drink, accused me of being fussy, casually called a designated driver to send me away. She had said, "I'm busy with social engagements tonight, so I won't be coming home. Don't call me unless it's an emergency. Just let the housekeeper take care of you." I lay on the hospital bed with my eyes closed, feeling the chill creep into my body through the 4-line. A few days later, as I was preparing to be discharged, my phone rang. A voice I hadn't heard in years came through. "Bro, I've got the results on the person you asked me to investigate. I know I shouldn't interfere in your affairs, but this woman, Olivia Gibson, she's a bit complicated." Even though I had fully prepared myself mentally, when I opened the file, I still felt suffocated. In the photos, the woman was sitting in a chair with a charming smile, while the man was crouching down with his ear against her belly, seemingly listening for movement inside. They looked every bit the loving couple preparing to welcome a new life. They went to amusement parks together, celebrated birthdays at the highest revolving restaurant. The once tough and cold career woman was as soft as water in front of Bill Foster. And then they returned home together. It turned out that on every anniversary when she claimed to be busy with work, she was actually with that man. I felt as if someone had carved a piece out of my heart. All these years of companionship had been nothing but a joke. The day of my discharge from the hospital finally arrived. Olivia Gibson showed up late, taking a few photos of the hospital room before grasping my hand apologetically. The company's been so busy lately. I'm sorry I'm late. But I could clearly smell an unfamiliar cologne on her. It was an aggressively masculine scent, and if I wasn't mistaken, it belonged to Bill Foster. Suddenly, I felt my stomach churn, nauseous to the point of vomiting. Especially when I saw her post the hospital room photos online with the caption, "My poor Joe. Hang in there." That feeling reached its peak. For years, she had been playing the role of a successful career woman, unwaveringly loyal to her disabled boyfriend, garnering quite a following online. Soon enough, my phone was buzzing with notifications. Blimey, Joe must have saved the galaxy in his past life. How else could he land someone as brilliant as Olivia Gibson? Lads, I won't say who's jealous, but we all know it's me. With a girl like that, what more could a bloke want? Before long, the thermos flask visible in the photo saw a surge in sales, and Olivia managed a rare smile. I knew she had deliberately staged the photo, placing her product in a prominent position. She tried to reach for me, but I pushed her away. The woman was clearly taken aback. I had always been gentle and considerate, never this cold before. After a long pause, she finally muttered, "I'm sorry about the allergy incident. I didn't think that even one time would." "You'd rather take a gamble than upset Bill Foster," I said coldly. "Olivia, if you think he's more important than me, why don't you break up with me and be with him?" At that moment, the woman's face turned from red to pale and back again. Finally, she said with a stern face, "Us breaking up would be bad for the company's reputation." I found it laughable. So she only wanted to reconcile because she didn't want to lose the benefits, not because she loved me. Of course, for years she had been the model girlfriend, never abandoning her boyfriend with a limp, and the company had enjoyed plenty of perks from this public image. I used to think it was a win-win situation, but now I didn't want to fool myself anymore. I returned to the home I shared with Olivia. There wasn't much to pack, just a few clothes, so I was done quickly. As I was about to leave with my belongings, a few workers blocked my way. Bill Foster shouted from outside, "Careful, don't break my vase," followed by Olivia's gentle laugh. "Oh, you, still so precious about these little things." The two were laughing and chatting, like a perfectly in-sync couple. Until they saw me with my luggage. Olivia immediately frowned. "Is this your answer?" On the day we broke up, she had scolded me for just throwing a tantrum, saying, "The company's busy. I can only give you 2 days to come to your senses. You'd better think it through." That impatient face still disgusts me to this day. I looked at Bill Foster, who had already made himself comfortable on the sofa, sipping tea, and turned to leave. Olivia angrily dismissed the workers. "Do you have to make this so embarrassing for yourself?" It was all so ridiculous. She was the one who cheated, she was the one who humiliated me, and now she was the one questioning me. I couldn't help but laugh coldly. Still better than bringing in a new lover before the old one's even gone. "Don't talk nonsense." Olivia's face turned ashen. "Bill's just staying on the second floor to keep an eye on me." I couldn't be bothered to respond, picking up my suitcase and heading for the door. Behind me, I heard the woman's angry shout, "Joe Williams, if you dare step out that door, all of Coastal Town won't be big enough for you." Olivia Gibson's tone carried a threat, as if she could ruin me the moment I walked away. Even now, she still saw herself as the proud superior, trying to win me back not out of love, but out of unwillingness to lose. I walked away without looking back. Bill Foster sneered coldly. A cripple with no sense of responsibility, what future could he possibly have? Olivia didn't respond, as the roar of a massive sports car descended upon the entrance. A young man in high-end casual wear jumped out, exuding an overwhelming aura of wealth. I heard Bill Foster mutter to himself, "Olivia, is this your business partner? Why didn't you mention there was someone like this in Coastal Town?" "He's not." As the two looked on curiously, the young aristocrat eagerly rushed over to help me with my luggage. then gave me a bear hug. "Big brother, you've finally agreed to come back to Capital City." Bill Foster's face immediately turned as sour as if he'd eaten something rotten, changing through a rainbow of expressions. To console himself and to reassure Olivia, he raised his voice in mockery. "Going to such lengths to hire an actor for the sake of appearances. How thoughtful." I held back my brother, who was about to argue, and sneered, "Talking to them makes me feel dirty." Even as the car drove far away, we could still hear Bill Foster's furious cursing. Henry Bennett's expression was complex, and he seemed to want to speak several times but held back. I knew he was trying to save face for me. After all, since he could remember, I had been an unparalleled business genius, not some poor boy who could be easily discarded. Years ago, to escape my family's control, I had resolutely come to this small city of coastal town. I changed my name and appearance, starting from scratch in coastal town all alone. At first, when I had no money, I worked in a restaurant and was often bullied. While others stood by watching, it was Olivia who stood up for me. She was efficient and young and beautiful, and I couldn't help falling for her. I even thought that even if we lived a poor life, as long as I could be with the one I loved, it would be much better than the gilded cage of Capital City. Only now do I realize how ridiculous that idea was, because I always hid my brilliance, putting myself in a lower position than Olivia. Over time, she came to see me as a worthless simp. So when her first love appeared, she could abandon me without hesitation. Seeing Henry's moist eyes, I smiled self-mockingly. "I've disappointed you." To my surprise, he grabbed my hand. "Big brother, it's great that you're back. With you in the company, I can go racing. Also, should we directly acquire the Gibson family's business or play with them a bit?" I felt a bit dazed. After being a simp for so long, I had forgotten that I used to be a ruthless market manipulator. "No need. Let's go back to Capital City directly." But at this point, Henry fell silent, his gaze falling on my leg. "Grandfather has felt guilty about you all these years. He'll be heartbroken if you go back like this." When he found me, he already knew everything I had been through these years, and naturally assumed I was still disabled with a lame leg. I smiled and tapped my leg, indicating I had feeling in it. In fact, my leg had healed the day before Olivia arranged the welcome dinner for Bill Foster. At the time, I had excitedly called to share the news with her, but all I got was a busy signal. She curtly interrupted me, saying she had an important business deal and not to disturb her even if the sky was falling. Later, when Bill Foster kept calling me a cripple and useless, she didn't object and even showed disgust in her eyes. I suddenly felt there was no point in telling her anymore. When I saw grandfather again, his hair had turned completely gray. The once stern and cold patriarch of our family now moved slowly, though his eyes remained as sharp as ever. He no longer pressured me to take over the company. Instead, he hosted a lavish gala that shocked the capital city, inviting all the upper-class families and business partners. Although I planned to start my own business, I had no reason to refuse this boost. Old Mr. Bennett has had a glorious life, but it's a shame he got such a useless grandson. That boy probably couldn't make it on his own and came back to claim his inheritance. A few CEOs sneered as they chatted. "Ha, if you ask me, he's only good at being born into the right family." It's sad that at our age, we still have to curry favor with these youngsters. Their arrogance and disdain, oozing from their very bones, felt all too familiar and made me shudder. In the past, I might have argued with them, but now, I simply asked for their names and saved them in my phone. Suddenly, someone bumped into my shoulder. I looked up to see Bill Foster and Olivia Gibson on his arm. They both seemed a bit shocked. As I was about to ignore them and leave, Bill sneered, "As expected of a toy boy, as soon as you left Olivia, you set your sights on the rich widows of Capital City. Look at how you're dressed, showing off like a peacock." Hearing this, Olivia's face darkened. "Joe, why do you have to degrade yourself like this?" Their back and forth quickly attracted onlookers, who began pointing and whispering about me. Someone even called security to have me thrown out. I smiled at Bill. "What if I have an invitation?" He paused, then burst out laughing, still putting on a brave face. "If you have an invitation, I'll slap myself 100 times." Of course, I didn't have an invitation, but there were plenty at home. I had just sent a message to Henry when the crowd suddenly parted. Bill's face lit up with glee. "The Bennetts are here. Get ready to be thrown out." Olivia tugged at his hand, seemingly reluctant. "Maybe we should let it go." "Let what go?" At that moment, Grandfather emerged from the crowd, frowning as he looked at me and the two of them. Bill pushed me forward. "Mr. Bennett, it's a good thing I caught this thief who snuck into the gala. Who knows what valuables might have gone missing otherwise." Seeing Grandfather's face darken to an extreme, Bill thought he had done the right thing and became even more smug. To everyone's surprise, he was suddenly seized by security. I walked up to the shocked Bill and smirked. "This guy said he'd slap himself 100 times as an apology. What do you think, Grandfather?" The entire room fell into a deathly silence at my words. Who could have imagined that the unremarkable me was actually the host of this gala? Of course, I wasn't going to let Bill slap himself. That would be too easy on him. 2 security guards pinned him to the ground and began slapping him left and right, not holding back at all. Before long, the man who had always prided himself on his dignity was beaten black and blue, with blood streaming from his nose. Even so, he didn't dare make a sound. Olivia softened her voice to plead. "Melvin, he didn't mean it. Please let him go." I mentally rolled my eyes and turned to leave. Whether he meant it or not, he knows in his heart. And by the way, my name is Melvin Bennett now, not Joe Williams. With that, I had security throw them both out of the venue, ignoring Olivia's calls. The Gibson Company's performance had always been limited to Coastal Town, and they had finally managed to expand to Capital City. But after today's scene, they would likely be blacklisted by every company here. But Olivia, this is just the beginning. The already lively party grew even more boisterous, with numerous company CEOs seizing the opportunity to network under the guise of congratulations, their previous mockery and disdain now completely forgotten. I had just managed to shake off the last of them when I felt a tap on my shoulder. "Mel!" A familiar, playful voice I hadn't heard in years rang out. A girl in a short yellow dress stood before me, grinning from ear to ear. "I've finally caught you." Her eyes still held that familiar twinkle, along with an undisguised affection. Melina Roberts and I had been betrothed since childhood. This stubborn girl, upon learning the meaning of our arranged marriage, had clung to me day and night, claiming she was nurturing our relationship early. She'd done it all, discouraging admirers who sent me love letters, confessing her love over the school radio, and even proposing in public. But I only ever saw her as the girl next door. I thought our connection had ended when I left Capital City. But to my surprise, she had joined the entertainment industry and become a dazzling starlet. I'd seen news about her. The sunny young actress, fresh from winning her first BAFTA, held up her trophy. Instead of giving an acceptance speech, she looked into the camera with pride and passion, saying, "Joe, I'm waiting for you to come back and celebrate with me." The next day, her management company rushed to do damage control, claiming she was addressing her brother. But Melina directly tweeted, "I was talking about the boy next door. I've loved him for many years. I entered show business to catch his attention, to let him know I've grown up and I'm ready to marry him. I hope everyone will give us their blessing." I still saw Melina as the little princess who never grew up. But soon, she shattered my preconceptions. One day, as I was heading to a business meeting, she canceled her scheduled appearance and paid a hefty penalty to rush straight from the film set. The once pampered young lady was now dressed in a smart business suit. I then realized that the owner of the company we were meeting with was none other than her. At that moment, Olivia Gibson appeared again like an unwelcome ghost. Seeing Melina beside me, her face immediately darkened. "Joe, you don't need to use other women to make me jealous." Before I could speak, Melina removed her sunglasses and linked her arm with mine. "Excuse me, miss, do you know my fiancé?" Olivia stood there, dumbfounded, clearly shaken by these words. Then, as she recognized Melina, Her expression grew even more sour. Years ago, when the company was just starting out, she had tried to get the then-rising star Melina as their brand ambassador, but was promptly rejected. In terms of looks, Melina, being a top celebrity, naturally outshone her 10 times over. As for family background, Olivia's was hardly worth mentioning. Olivia's face went through a series of emotions. Realizing she was no longer my only option, her eyes immediately welled up with tears. If it's about the alcohol allergy incident, I can apologize. Don't be upset. If you're willing to come back, we can pretend nothing happened. I was utterly disgusted and couldn't help but sneer. We're over, Olivia. Your persistence won't work on me. Don't think too highly of yourself. Passers-by began to cast curious glances our way. Olivia clenched her fists. Joe Williams, I've already apologized. Don't push your luck. She had finally dropped her facade. This was a spoiled woman who could hardly be called an ex-girlfriend. I turned to leave, pulling Melina along as she was still eager to argue, when I heard Olivia's venomous cry. I'm pregnant. Are you really going to abandon us? Now, passers-by were looking at me with expressions of disgust reserved for scoundrels. Some even spat on the ground. Olivia Gibson caught up with me and grabbed my arm. I know you won't abandon me and the baby. Let's make up, please. At that moment, she looked like an innocent victim cruelly cast aside, earning sympathetic glances from onlookers. The mention of the child only fueled my anger. Bloody hell. Did she think I was just a fool to be taken advantage of? To be cheated on and still expected to raise another man's child? I pried her fingers off my arm one by one, sneering. When you were dating Bill Foster, dining with him, sleeping with him, and buying a house with him, did you ever think about your responsibility to me? You know better than anyone whose child it is. I played the recording of Bill Foster's confrontation with me. I advise you to bugger off while you still can. The bun in Olivia's oven is mine. On your anniversary, she ditched you to buy me a house as an apology when I was cross with her. She was just playing with you, mate. Don't tell me you actually took it seriously? You muppet. As each insult rang out, Olivia's face grew paler. Finally, she crouched down, covering her ears. No, it's not true. You loved me so much. You even hurt your leg for me. How could I possibly betray you? Her words seemed to be stating facts but also questioning herself. It's precisely because I was too good to you that you felt no guilt in pursuing your true love. I rolled up my trouser leg, delivering the final blow without emotion. My leg healed long ago, right on the day you threw Bill Foster a welcome dinner. There will be no more ties between us. The air froze for a moment. Suddenly, Melina Roberts, who was standing nearby, began to sob with reddened eyes. Melvin, do you really think so little of me? Why would you rather be with this old slag than accept me? She wasn't wearing sunglasses, and it didn't take long for someone to snap a photo and post it online. The two women went back and forth, each crying louder than the other. My head throbbing, I grabbed Melina and dragged her away. Soon after, I saw the related news in some gossip magazines and felt a massive headache coming on. Meanwhile, the little minx cheerfully greeted my grandfather and burst into my room. Melvin! I had just gotten up and hadn't put on a shirt. I froze in place. Melina instinctively covered her eyes but peeked through her fingers a few times. Although we grew up together, there were still boundaries between men and women. I reflexively covered myself with the duvet. Unexpectedly, she jumped over and hugged me. Look how great these photos turned out. I was rooted to the spot, my face burning uncontrollably. Did you arrange this? Melina blinked innocently. Her rosy cheeks and ever-widening smile gave her away. If I hadn't seen her interacting with people from the magazine that day, I would never have believed this little girl had learned to play mind games with me. She had exposed the dirty deeds of Olivia and Bill, that pair of scumbags, while buying social media bots to attack them online, painting an even more vivid picture of my tragic situation. Netizens were crying out, Melvin, look at our Melina. She's beautiful, kind, and most importantly, loyal to a fault. I sighed and ruffled Melina's hair, pushing her away. There's no need to make such a big fuss about this. But she didn't back down at all. I know it's a bit underhanded, but I just can't stand watching you and that woman still tangled up together. I want to give you the best of everything in the world and not let anyone hurt you. I was taken aback. Olivia Gibson had said these words to me before. Only she had said them in a video, which was posted online the next day, receiving many well wishes. If Olivia Gibson was the cool, distant moon, then Melina Roberts was the sun, constantly radiating warmth. Her love was intense and genuine. She would even hold my hands, her doe-like eyes sparkling. Although she had never hidden her feelings, this was the first time Melina had formally confessed to me. Her eyelashes were trembling with nervousness. But before I could respond, my phone started ringing. In less than an hour, I had transformed from a brooding romantic lead to a calculating, ungrateful scoundrel. This was all thanks to an anonymous internet user. They had posted about how Olivia had cared for and loved me in the past. The caption claimed that after being found by my wealthy grandfather, I had abandoned this loyal wife and was even using her to create a sympathy-inducing public image, all to escape and marry a rich heiress. The story was so detailed and convincing that it immediately turned public opinion against me. Personal attacks didn't really affect me. However, my newly established clothing company was just starting out, with women as the main target audience. This would inevitably impact the company's reputation. Sure enough, after my assistant's report, I found the situation was even worse than I had imagined. Henry Bennett angrily punched the wall, his face red with fury. How can Olivia be so shameless? Cheating is bad enough, but to stab someone in the back like this? It's not her, I said calmly, scrolling through the posts. I knew Olivia's manner of speaking and habits, and this wasn't it. Besides, after years of experience in the business world, she wouldn't handle problems so aggressively anymore. The only person who could do this was Bill Foster. After arranging for urgent PR management, I called in the lawyers. The level of slander was enough to put him behind bars for a few days. Melina felt guilty, believing this was all because of her. She came to the office to bring me lunch for several days in a row. I sighed. This has nothing to do with you. Even without your actions, he would have come after me sooner or later. And if this could teach Bill Foster a lesson, that wouldn't be so bad. Melina pouted, still somewhat scared. Although she didn't pay much attention to the entertainment industry, her phone occasionally showed some notifications. Most of them accused me and Melina of bullying a small company. An actor's reputation is crucial, yet she still firmly spoke out for me. Couldn't help but be moved. For the first time, I hugged her and comforted her gently. After work, I met Olivia at the entrance. She looked much more haggard, her eyes only showing a glimmer of light when she looked at me. Joe! Gone was her previous arrogance, replaced by caution. The things online, I didn't do it. You have to believe me. I said nothing, opening the car door to leave, when I saw her suddenly kneel on the ground. It's my fault for not seeing through Bill Foster's true nature. I've already kicked him out. I won't let him hurt you again. As if to prove it, she took out her phone and showed me that she had blocked Bill Foster. But I no longer cared about any of this. As I was leaving, I heard Olivia's determined voice. I'll make him clear up the rumors himself. Just wait for me. I never imagined I'd see her again, let alone in a hospital. While accompanying Lucky for her vaccination, I overheard the nurses gossiping. It's a tragedy. Her pregnancy was already at risk, and then that abusive boyfriend nearly killed her. Did you see the 2 stab wounds in her stomach? If she hadn't been brought in on time, she probably wouldn't have made it. She still owes money for the surgery. If she can't pay, they'll have to discharge her. It's heartbreaking. After paying the medical bills, I saw the woman in the hospital room as pale as a sheet. She was thin as paper, completely lifeless. She had lost the baby. Bill Foster had also swindled her out of all her money. When she saw me, her eyes immediately welled up with tears. Soon after, I received news that Bill Foster had been arrested by the police. Olivia Gibson had reported him for intentional assault. It turned out that when she confronted Bill Foster, demanding he apologize online for spreading rumors about me, they got into an argument. Bill Foster had already scammed the money, so he had nothing to lose. He stabbed her twice without hesitation. Feeling unsatisfied, he pushed her down the stairs, causing her to miscarry completely. "Joe, I'm so sorry. I couldn't even handle this small task properly," Olivia sobbed uncontrollably. "It's all my fault. I pushed you away with my own hands, yet still foolishly hoped you'd come back. If I were you, I'd despise myself too. I don't dare ask for your forgiveness." I stood up with a cold smirk. "I never planned on forgiving you." The woman's body stiffened, her face turning even paler. But I felt no sympathy. "You thought you were so clever, but you forgot that love isn't a gamble. From the moment you chose Bill Foster, you completely destroyed our relationship." I looked at her, enunciating each word. "As for your attempts at making amends, they're laughable to me. I had already submitted evidence of Bill Foster's slander against me. The police were still investigating without making it public. Those 2 stab wounds you suffered were completely unnecessary." As I finished speaking, footsteps approached. Melina Roberts naturally took my arm, smiling affectionately and casually. "I'm all done here. Can we go home now?" Olivia's body tensed, looking at me in disbelief. "You too." At this moment, Melina seemed to notice her for the first time, smiling sweetly as she took out an invitation from her bag. "Oh, Olivia, you're here too. Our wedding is next month. Once you've recovered, you must come." The 2 names embossed in gold on the cover made Olivia collapse to the ground. After leaving the hospital room, I pinched Melina's pouting face. "Jealous?" The little minx snorted coldly and turned away. "So that's where you disappeared to, visiting your old flame." I found her sulking adorable and couldn't resist pinching her soft waist. Melina immediately surrendered, snuggling into my arms. "You always bully me." She didn't mention Olivia again, because we both knew everything was in the past now. Bill Foster was sentenced to 5 years in prison for malicious defamation and intentional assault, and the online rumors naturally fell apart. On our wedding day, Olivia came too. She had shaved her head and watched from afar. I heard she had sold her company and become a nun, intending to live in seclusion in the mountains. I smiled dismissively and leaned down to kiss my bride, whose eyes were filled with nothing but me. True happiness was right before me, and this time I was going to hold on tight. Olivia Gibson's story. I had a charmed life for the first half of my existence. A brilliant career, a loving boyfriend, an impeccable reputation. I had it all. Until he came back. For him, I abandoned Joe and did something unethical. But he only used me as a trophy to show off. The moment I felt the knife, I suddenly thought life had no meaning, and it would be better to end it all. Then I heard Bill Foster's eerie laugh. "I never touched you that night when you were drunk." I stared at him, clutching my stomach in agony, only to be kicked down the stairs. Blood flowed from below, and I felt life slipping away with it. I desperately held onto myself, begging the child inside not to leave. But it was too late. In the end, I lost my only connection to Joe. Later, at my lowest point, I met him again. He was completely different, cheerful, decisive. And he had a woman by his side who only had eyes for him. I swallowed the words about the child and my plea to stay, and suddenly felt at peace. Unlike me, Melina Roberts had chosen him unwaveringly for over 20 years. Only she deserved him. Melvin Bennett's story. During the time I was attacked by everyone online, my little girl became even more clingy. She canceled all her work and didn't even go home, finding a guest room downstairs to stay in. Every day she played chess with Grandpa, fed Charlie, and smiled at me sweetly. I suddenly felt this kind of life wasn't bad at all. Long ago, when I was with Olivia, she never cared for my feelings like this. But the little girl I thought hadn't grown up managed to do it. I finally understood that if someone doesn't want to spend time on you, it's not because they're busy, but because they don't love you enough. Grandpa hinted at when we'd set a wedding date. She blushed, looking absolutely adorable. But a work call made her rush out the door. The villa was on the hillside, so I volunteered to drive her. When we arrived, I realized it was a film set. Apparently, this drama had reached its final scenes. She had already finished filming, but the director added a last-minute scene. And it turned out to be a kissing scene. When the two were rehearsing their lines, the male actor's eyes were glued to her. I felt my heart being squeezed painfully, even having trouble breathing. Before I could think it through, I rushed over and pulled her back. Everyone was stunned, except for me, who finally realized I didn't just see her as a little sister. I liked her. The little girl didn't seem surprised at all. She winked mischievously and wrapped her arms around my neck. Her orange-scented lips came close. Hee hee, you fell for it. I've got glue on my hands. Once I hold on, I can't let go for a lifetime.